Hey first graders, Miss Lumsden is here to do a writing lesson with you. And since it's been probably a week and a half since we've been writing, we took a pause and did our fire safety, and then we were working really hard on our responsible citizens unit. So it's been a little bit since we did writing. So this first lesson that you're online is just going to be a review of all the things we've learned about writing narrative stories so far this year. It's not going to be anything new, so we're just going to review all the things we know, and then you will get some time to write. So Miss Lumsden hung up over our number grid here so you can see it, our first chart that we made together about how to write a story. So we're going to review that. We started at the very beginning of the year with number 1, which was think back for an idea. And we also learned in IB, a lot of you made the connection that being reflective is thinking back. So we're being reflective about our lives, and we are thinking back on things we have done or something that's happened to us that we can write about. These are true, real stories. Remember, they don't have flying unicorns or leprechauns or fairies or anything made up in them. They all have true, real things that have actually happened in your lives. So once you have that idea, you are planning out your story. And we plan out our story by touching and telling and sketching. So this is your writing paper and packets that you've been working with this year. And you would plan out your story by touching the page and saying what would go on the first page, touching and saying what would go on the second page, and then touching and saying what would go on the third page. Then you go back and you do your sketches to help remind you about what you're going to write. So you're going to sketch. Okay, I just said this is what was going to happen on this page. What would be a quick sketch to go here? Remember, when we are sketching, that this is not art class, this is for a story. So we are writing, or we are sketching quickly, and we are not coloring. They're just with our pencil, and they're quick that we can remember what we're going to write. We can always go back and add more details to our pictures once we get our writing on the page. But in this step, we are just doing quick sketches to help us plan out our story and know what we're going to write on the lines. All right, and then number 3 is write. So after you have those sketches there on your pages, you're going to look at your sketch and remember what you planned and write out those words on the page. And then finally, we learned once you think that everything is done, you have a beginning, a middle, and end, you have writing on all 3 pages, and you have sketches, then we're going to do number 4, which is revise. And when we revise, we are reading our story, making sure, did we include who was there, what happened, when we did it, and where it happened. So we want to include all those details. We don't want a story that just says we and you never tell who we is. Is we you and your friend? Is it you and your mom? Is it your whole family? You want to tell who was in the story, where you went, what you did, and all those details to make sure that you have a good story that your audience can understand. All right, so that's how we went through and we first learned how we're going to write our stories. Then we have learned a couple more things to make our stories even better. So when we are thinking back for an idea, hopefully you remember seeing this in one of our lessons. When we're thinking back for an idea, we talked about finding seed ideas, not watermelons. So if you don't remember what that is, we talked about how a watermelon story is a big, big, big memory that has lots going on in it. And remember, we only have 3 pages to write these small moments. We want them to be small. So instead of thinking about my whole vacation to Disney, we think of the little seed stories that happened on the vacation to Disney. And we had lots of examples. Like, I remember friends were walking up, remember, and you were taking my seeds, and you were saying, ooh, a part of the vacation to Disney could be when you met Cinderella. And that's the one part that you would write in your story, is just about meeting Cinderella. You wouldn't try and fit the whole Disney vacation in one story. Another big watermelon idea we talked about was the first day of school. We could never fit what happened on the first day in first grade in one quick 3-page story. We would want to think of one small seed event that happened on the first day of school. So maybe you write a story about meeting Miss Lumsden for the first time. Maybe you're writing about the first recess we had together and what you did on that recess, okay? So those are the small seeds that would be the stories you would pick for your small moments. Remember, we talked about zooming in and finding one small seed story that happened, okay? So there's a review. The other thing we talked about when we're doing number 3, writing, is that we can stretch out our words. So we talked about ways to make sure that we're stretching out our words. And my quick reminder on that is just going to be, remember the sight words you know. So think of the sight words you already know. Make sure those are spelled right. And then you want to make sure you're sliding and stretching it out if there's a word you don't know. So remember, we practice spelling words together and listening to all the sounds so that we can make sure our writing makes sense to everybody when they're reading it, all right? Okay, so that's a quick review on how to write our narrative stories. So today, you don't have any of the work you were working on here in class. It's still here in our folders. So you have fresh writing paper in your packet that you picked up. And your job today is to think back for an idea and get started on a story. And remember, as we write, it's a workshop type setting, so we're not trying to finish a whole story in one day. It's okay if maybe we only plan it out and get the sketching done today, and then tomorrow we can go back and fill in the words. Maybe you only get one first page done. That's okay. Miss Lumsden wants you to write for 15 to 20 minutes, and if you don't get the story done, that's okay. 15 to 20 minutes is how long we've been working on writing in class, and you don't need to write longer than that, all right? Just do your best you can and work on a new small moment story. All right, I hope that reminded you about all the awesome things you already know about being an author of small moment stories, and I can't wait to see what you're going to be working on this week in writing. All right, do a great job. Talk to you soon.